the incorporeal God. 31. There is no place in the universe where God is not present, and yet we live unaware of His presence or absence. Air surrounds us, but ordinarily we did not feel it. It is only when we are suffocating that we realize that air exists. Further, right inside of us, our heart beats about 70 times a minute, but we are usually unaware of it. If we were forced to match our steps or the blinking of our eyes with the rhythm of our heart, we would collapse within 3 days from nervous exhaustion. So, it is good that we are unaware of such things. Suppose that God, who is omnipotent, omniscient, and in total control of heaven and earth, were right here with us. With His power, He could blow away mountains and put a hole through the earth. Seeing such things, do you think we could survive in the visible presence of such a God? It is good that God is invisible. If He were visible, we would have a nervous breakdown and pass away within an hour. We should therefore be grateful that God is invisible. 32. We live every day under the rays of the sun, but we do not feel grateful. We do not greet the sun with gratitude, saying, "Thank you, sun." We tend to take such magnificent things for granted. What if God decided to remove all the air in the world, leaving only 1 gallon? If God were that mischievous, world unification would be easy. It would be done in 5 minutes. If God took away all the air and asked, "Will you unite or not?" all people would shout in unison, "Well, unite." God could unify the world in an instant this way. That God does not do this is something for which to be thankful, because without the air we would die. Air is absolutely necessary for life. 33. The wise, all-knowing and almighty God thought it most convenient to reign as an incorporeal being who could move around freely in the midst of things. Since God has no form, He can pass through things at will without causing any problem. God can come to your body and pass through it without your awareness. When you doze off, God can step onto your body and walk on it as He pleases, and you will not even notice. How convenient! So it is logical to say that, after much consideration, God chose to remain invisible because He felt it would be most convenient. 34. We know that air is circulating around us, but we do not feel it. If we are unaware even of the air circulating around us, how can we expect to be aware of God's presence? For God, it is most convenient to remain without form. At the same time, He has to be more than big enough to govern and wrap Himself around this huge universe. Although the incorporeal God can be as big as He wants, the universe is too small to contain His heart. He desires something even larger. 35. You do not keep your most precious things in a place where people can just see and touch them. You secure them in a place where no one can steal them. If you had a most precious, prized and unique treasure, you would secure it where no one could take it. You would keep it in the deepest part of your heart, the place to which you alone had access. Your heart is the only place where you can meet God one-on-one. God too does not want to meet you in an exposed place. He seeks a unique place where He can meet you as an individual with unique character, thinking and feeling. That is the reason God made the conscience incorporeal. 36. Let us imagine the world contained one treasure such that, if it were lost, on that very day the world would turn upside down. Would you keep that most precious treasure on the surface of your heart, or at the very center of your heart? I am sure you would keep it at the center of your heart. Still you would not feel at ease, and you would wrap it up, not only once, but many times over. You would not want just anyone to walk in and look at it, so you would cover it, layer upon layer, so that others would never set eyes on it. The human heart has this kind of desire. If God were visible, all the diamonds in heaven and on earth would pale into insignificance by comparison. Where would you house this God, the absolute being who is unique in the universe, who is of infinite value, who is the infinite source of life, and who is priceless beyond imagination? You would keep Him in your heart. You would hide Him where no one could find Him, even after seeking for tens of thousands of years. So it is good that God is invisible. 37. God is a being without form, so the question arises, how can the incorporeal and the corporeal come together? How can the incorporeal world and the corporeal world become one? Logically, this is difficult to answer. A physical being cannot become the center that binds a spiritual self and a physical self. Then how can there be unity between the spiritual parent and the earthly parents, that is, between God, who is spirit, and the unfallen human ancestors of the original standard, who have substantial form? Further, the vertical and the horizontal have to unite, but how? It is through love, the true love between them. Traveling by the shortest and most direct route,